That's number one. You kind of reset.
Painful, tender to the touch. May also
Same shoulder length, and the other.
All right. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Real Health Podcast with Brandi and Amir. I am Dr. Amir Rashidian, a chiropractor, and Brandi is the honorary Dr. Brandi, Dr. Brandi. Sometimes goes by Bendy or Brody.
I am so bad about typing my own name on on messages. We got a really good giggle out of that. Sorry, Danny. I sent our good friend Danny a message and I signed it Bendy and I never noticed. So
Yeah,
it's
I don't
just
know.
who I am.
I don't know how you do that.
It's one of my alter egos.
But anyways, have you heard that joke? The what is it? The priest, the pastor, and a rabbi. Sorry, the priest, the pastor, and a rabbit walk into a bar, and the bartender says, "What can I get you?" And the rabbit's really upset. He goes, "I don't know, man. I'm only here because of autocorrect." So
Love it. That's me.
that's you, Bendy.
Bendy.
Honorary Dr. Bendy. And so we're getting ready to start. We're not going to take too much time. Just a real quick recap that the Real Health Podcast is where we take mainstream media news about health and wellness, and we summarize it for you. We explain what it means, what it should mean to you, what you should do about it, how to apply it to your life, to your family's wellness. And the purpose of that is to make sure you always feel better, get stronger, live longer, and feel younger. So let's get right to it because we have a lot. We
I
have
mean, clearly your desk is messy today.
mountains of articles, and we're not going to go through all of it, obviously, but we'll try to kind of, like you said, do it at 1.5 speed today and see if we can get through some.
That's how I
But
listen to my books, 1.35 speed.
your ears are faster than mine.
Yes.
Actually, there are a couple of things I listen to at 2 speed.
Ooh, what's that?
Yeah, well, these are some people that speak slow.
Oh.
They're mostly preachers and pastors who likes to pause for dramatic effect.
I will say, although my Midwestern friends may not like to hear this, but many people in the Midwest have a very, compared to East Coast people, a much slower rhythm of speech. And so my East Coast ears now, although I was born and partially raised in Kansas, which is fun because that's one of our first articles today. Ooh, go Kansas. And so yeah, I'm much faster now that I've been out of the Midwest, so I'm not so patient.
Okay.
I need things fast.
Well, I'll try to read fast if I can. This is a big article. It's not long, but this is big because of its impact and ramifications, and I think it's kind of like the first pebble that falls in the pond that creates ripples, and we have no idea where those ripples are going to go and how far it's going to go, and what's going to come out of it. But it is very interesting. It's definitely unprecedented what has happened here. And so the article was published everywhere. You can find it in every media, but the one we chose to look at is from Fox Business. And the title of the article says Kansas sues Pfizer over misrepresentations and adverse events of COVID-19 vaccine.
Now, this is pretty unprecedented, if I'm correct. I think rarely has a state actually stood up on behalf of their people to go, enough's enough. This isn't right. Like, I'm so proud of my home state. So
Well,
good
yeah,
job,
and
guys.
it's not an easy task, and
No.
you know, you're picking a fight with a behemoth,
100%.
a Goliath, and you're going all in. That's pretty interesting. Now we know that the company has immunity because of the Emergency Use Act and all that. Well, let me just read it to you. So the state of Kansas has filed a lawsuit against pharmaceutical company Pfizer Inc. for alleged, and that's the big word, alleged, consumer protection violations related to the company's manufacturing of the COVID-19 vaccine, saying the company marked the shot as safe even though it knew the vaccine was connected to serious adverse events.
Well, I think one thing that they got out of, which they're supposed to do, but most individuals that I've talked to that get any kind of vaccine, very few actually receive informed consent. And so that's the challenge, is that we were all told you have to do this. if you don't, you're in violation. Many people lost their jobs or their job was threatened due to them delaying getting the vaccine. We had many patients that came to us and said, can you write something? Can you say I shouldn't have this? And unfortunately, it was out of our scope of practice. We could not do that. I would have loved to have done that for patients, and many that got it, we know that they had severe reactions, and
And don't get
so
us wrong, we're not the typical anti-vax people. We're pro safety and we're pro choice. We believe if you should have a
100%.
choice of what happens to your body, that should apply across the board to anything and anyone. If you want to control what goes into your body or what comes out of your body, you have that right. And so if those patients who said I don't want the vaccine, they should have the right to not get it, just like people who do want it should have the right to get it, and no one's going to
correct.
judge them for
But
doing
you
it one way or
should
the other.
know what the risk factors
Exactly.
are.
Now, if they just say this is safe and they guarantee it, but they falsify that information, that's a whole different story, and that's what allegedly has happened. So Pfizer, this is in quotations, Pfizer misled the public that it had a safe and effective COVID-19 vaccine. The 69-page lawsuit filed Monday in the District of Thomas County alleges. Pfizer said its COVID-19 vaccine was safe even though it knew its COVID-19 vaccine was connected to serious adverse events, including myocarditis, pericarditis, failed pregnancies, and deaths. Pfizer concealed this critical safety information from the public. Pfizer said its COVID-19 vaccine was effective even though it knew its COVID-19 vaccine waned over time and did not protect against COVID-19 variants. Pfizer concealed this critical effectiveness information from the public, it says. The lawsuit alleges that the company's actions and statements relating to its COVID-19 vaccine violated the Kansas Consumer Protection Act, regardless of whether any individual consumer ultimately received the Pfizer vaccine. Pfizer must be held accountable for falsely representing the benefits of its COVID-19 vaccine while concealing and suppressing the truth about its vaccine safety risks, waning effectiveness, and inability to prevent transmission, the lawsuit says. The suit filed by Republican Attorney General Chris Kobash alleges that though through the company's misrepresentations of the vaccine, it earned record company revenues of approximately $75 billion in just 2 years.
I just wonder how people can sit and watch that money falling into their accounts, knowing that there's been untruths or a lack of just being open about what's really going on. How, like ethically, how do you do that? I would struggle with that. I would hope that the vast majority of humans would struggle with that.
It's an age-old story.
I know.
Greed does
And that's
terrible
really what it
things.
boils down to. If you knowingly concealed this,
Yeah.
in an effort
Yeah.
to protect your bottom line,
So you're profiting out of a crisis, a pandemic that's taken lives, and you say,
Yeah.
hey, let's try to make some money off of this.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also an opportunity, and I don't know how. If you're a capitalist, I don't know how that applies to all of this. I've always said I'm a capitalist, except when it comes to healthcare, I am partly socialist. Not a Bernie Sanders socialist, just a medical healthcare socialist, because I want everybody to have access to top-notch healthcare,
Correct.
regardless of their
Not sick
social
care.
or economic status. Not sick care, but health care. And that's that they don't have that. They have access to sick care.
Yeah.
They don't have access to health care. So
many people don't even have access to sick care. They still end up with a bill,
it's true. It's
that
true.
they can't afford to pay.
Or they just refuse to go to the doctor because they're
Right.
afraid to report certain things. Anyways, Pfizer administered 3.3 million Pfizer vaccine doses in Kansas as of February 7, 2024. This accounted for more than 60% of all vaccine doses in Kansas. The lawsuit alleges, citing the state's Department of Health data. The lawsuit alleges that Pfizer used various methods to conceal critical data related to the safety effectiveness of the vaccine, including using confidentiality agreements, an extended timeline, and destroying the control group participating in its vaccine trial. They literally got rid of the control group.
You're like, How did we
Well,
get rid of the
here's what
control
they
group?
did. Because Pfizer unblinded the original control group, and allowed them to receive Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, Pfizer government regulators and independent scientists cannot fully compare the safety and efficacy of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine against unvaccinated individuals. So once they had the vaccine, they took the placebo group, and they actually gave everybody the vaccine, not just one group, and not give it to the other
And we
group.
know things like that are deliberate. That's you know what
Yep.
you're doing.
Pfizer's extensive and aggressive efforts to keep its COVID-19 vaccine information hidden conflict with its public transparency pledges and raise serious questions about what Pfizer is hiding and why it is hiding it. The lawsuit also alleges that Pfizer failed to disclose the limitations of its COVID-19 vaccine trials. When Pfizer announced that the FDA had authorized Pfizer's vaccine for emergency use, Pfizer did not disclose that its trial included only healthy individuals and excluded unhealthy individuals. Pfizer made representations that's a big deal, right?
That's huge.
They never tested it on unhealthy people, which I mean, I don't want unhealthy people to be tested on,
Correct.
but why don't they disclose that information?
Right. It's kind of like them, like, yeah, we can't test things on pregnant women, nor would you want to, right? Because the safety of mom and baby, and how the baby gets what and what can pass the placental barrier and things like that. Like, we can't test those things, nor why would you want to? So same thing with that. I'm just blown away by Pfizer's concealment.
Pfizer made representations about its COVID-19 vaccine safety knowingly or with reason to know that it did not possess a reasonable basis to represent that it was safe for individuals who had been diagnosed with COVID-19, who were immunocompromised, or who were pregnant or breastfeeding. There is also a well, let's see if it talks about that. Kobash alleges that Pfizer maintained its own adverse events database separate from the vaccine adverse events reporting system, VAERS system, that contained cases of adverse events reported spontaneously to Pfizer, cases reported by the health authorities, cases published in the medical literature, cases from Pfizer-sponsored marketing programs, non-interventional studies, and cases of serious adverse events reported from clinical studies regardless of causality assessment. So what they're saying is that what you see in VAERS, which is public information, isn't all there is, that they actually have larger numbers of adverse events that were reported directly to them, and they kept their own database, which they did not reveal.
Which is separate and distinct from VAERS. So
Pfizer did not publicly release adverse events data from its database, and this is the Attorney General has claimed this. In a statement to Fox News Digital, Pfizer said, "We are proud to have developed the COVID-19 vaccine in record time in the midst of a global pandemic and saved countless lives. The representations made by Pfizer about its COVID-19 vaccine have been accurate and science-based. The company believes that the state's case has no merit and will respond to the suit in due course. Pfizer is deeply committed to the well-being of the patients it serves and has no higher priority than ensuring the safety and effectiveness of its treatments and vaccines. Since its initial authorization by FDA in December 2020, the Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine has been administered to more than 1.5 billion people, demonstrated a favorable safety profile in all age groups, and helped protect against severe COVID-19 outcomes, including hospitalization and death," the company said.
well, if the FDA said it was okay,
There
we
you go.
have 100%
Well, that's
complete trust.
that's what I wrote here in the margin. Is the FDA just as guilty, and is the
100%.
lawsuit going to include the FDA? Are they going to file against the FDA also? Because FDA
They
didn't have
should.
this information either, but now FDA is going to say, well, Pfizer didn't give it to us. I go, well, why didn't you ask for it? And I know there's certain amount of records that are sealed until the year 2072.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing that they did with the Tuskegee experiments, right? That was closed for, I think it was 50 or 70 years. It was closed. You could
Yep.
not access that data. And it was just within the last 10 years or so that that was released and became common knowledge that our government went in and tested syphilis vaccines or treatments
Right.
on an entire group of people, unknowingly gave them syphilis in order to test it.
Right.
And that's where, so let's just say generations of offspring in that area were affected by that.
They said patient safety is our number one priority, which is why we follow diligent safety and monitoring protocols. So why are you so concerned about profits?
Well, here's what I find interesting. In doing, a little bit of background on this, I actually came across an article from February 19th, 2024. So that's this year. And it actually says that researchers from the Global Vaccine Data Network, the GVDN in New Zealand, analyzed 99 million people who received COVID vaccinations across 8 countries. This is a huge study that was done.
I don't know any other study that has 99 million people in it.
People across 8 countries. That's nuts. They monitored for increases in, check this out, 13 different medical conditions in the period after people received the COVID vaccine. So this study, which was published in the journal Vaccine back in February, found that the vaccine was linked to a slight increase. We don't know, they're not giving us those numbers. So we know that they use that verbiage, slight, minimal, to try to downgrade it. A slight increase in neurological, blood and heart-related medical conditions, according to a press release from GVDN. People who received certain types of mRNA vaccines were found to have a higher risk of myocarditis, which is an inflammation of the heart muscle. Some viral vector vaccines were linked to a higher risk of blood clots in the brain, as well as an increased likelihood of, are you going to say it for me? What is I always called it Jabero, but it was not.
I think it's Guillain-Barré or Guillain-Barré syndrome.
Guillain-Barré or Guillain-Barré syndrome, a neurologic disorder in which the immune system attacks the nerves. The massive study and review of the data reveals some rare conditions of the mRNA vaccines and myocarditis, especially after the second shot, as well as an association between the Oxford AstraZeneca vector vaccines and this syndrome, they told Fox News Digital. So, I mean, it's been there. I'm surprised that we were not able to pull this when it came out in February. So that just goes to show you these articles often get buried. We may not find them until we do deeper research down the road. Sometimes these articles get pulled for a certain amount of time. You just don't know. But
just recently, I think it was in May, AstraZeneca recalled all of their COVID vaccines. And they withdrew all of them. They said they're not going to produce anymore. And they claimed they're doing it because there's too many other vaccines out there and they didn't want to compete. They also did mention that because there is a mild, small possibility of a small adverse reaction to it. And for those 2 reasons, they recalled. I wonder if they knew such a lawsuit was coming.
it was probably talked about along the lines. I'm sure that there was conversation or rumors of that. So let's just start pulling our stuff off so that we're not put in the limelight. You can still be put in the limelight. You still did it.
That's
Let's
right.
just because you pull it now and you say there's a small chance doesn't mean that that's necessarily the case. So make sure if you're doing anything, having anything put into your body, look at the risk factors. I mean, we don't prescribe medication, but we prescribe supplements for our patients, and we always look at risk factors. We always talk about that. Is there anything that could be a risk factor or a contraindication with something you're already taking, or, with a disease process or anything like that? It's so important to do your due diligence. And pharmaceuticals have way more contraindications and risk factors than most supplements on the market. Not all, but most. And we're not even talking about herbal supplements. So, all right, shall we move on?
Oh, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I'm sure that will not be the last thing we hear.
No,
We're going to really follow the
I'm looking at
Kansas lawsuit.
there's something going on in Florida, which we'll find out and report on later.
Let's just
But
say this could pave the way to multiple states, you know, creating similar lawsuits. I really hope that it does. I hope that other states stick up for their people as much as Kansas had. Whether or not this will come to fruition, whether or not anything is done, this is providing a lot of eye-opening information that people need to see and read. And hopefully now, hopefully something like this won't happen again, but God forbid, we're all as a, not just as a country or as a state, but in the entire world, if we are put in a similar situation, I think we should all stop looking at the people that are more conservative going, I don't know, this is kind of funny. I would be a little bit hesitant. Like I won't say we, but many people thought those individuals, those conservative individuals that were nervous about the vaccine, they were treated like they were horrible individuals.
that's right.
Do you know what I mean? They were told that they were basically killers.
Well, they were made to feel guilty because they said if you don't get it, you're hurting the elderly that live
You're
with
putting
you or
everybody else
around
at
you.
risk.
Yet, and Pfizer claimed in this lawsuit, they're saying Pfizer claimed that it would protect those around you. Then they showed that they never did any studies
Yeah.
on whether it protects other people when you get
Right.
it. That's just something they made up.
Yes. So I think we all need to just know that there's not many that are looking out for your best interest. And if there's money involved and somebody is trying to put something out fast and trying to gain revenue on it, we might want to think twice.
Yeah,
And I think we
75
have a due diligence. We have a right, and we really should be thinking about those things.
Right.
So, all right, are you ready for another hot topic?
Let's shift gears and jump on a different one here.
So we've been talking in multiple articles over the last year about forever chemicals, and CNN just put out an article. It's titled "Biden Administration Sets First National Standard to Limit Forever Chemicals in the Drinking Water." Now, you can get a little excited because finally somebody's going, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is, and I'm going to go ahead and put this money out here that's going to be available for communities to use to upgrade their water treatment systems. But don't worry, there's no way for us to enforce it. So I really don't know how much things are going to change, but let's dig in. So the Biden administration finalized the first national standard to limit dangerous forever chemicals found in nearly half of the drinking water in the United States. Some environmentalists called the new rule a huge breakthrough and a historic change that can help protect human health. The new standard is legally enforced and aims to reduce exposure to pre- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as PFAS, and forever chemicals. Water utilities will now have to filter out 5 or more than 12,000 types of individual forever chemicals: PFOA, PFOS, PFNA, PFHXS, and HFPO-DA. These are all known as Gen X chemicals. The regulations also set a limit for mixtures of any 2 or more PFNA, PFHXS, PFBS, and Gen X chemicals. The family of ubiquitous synthetic chemicals are used to help protect or help products repel water and oil, but they linger in the environment and in the human body. They are linked to a variety of health problems, including cancer, thyroid disease, reproductive problems, and heart and liver damage, among other issues. These chemicals are found, check this out, found in the blood in nearly 97% of all Americans. Another study I saw said 98% of all Americans, according to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That to me is so scary. 97, 98%.
I agree.
Is in our body, and it's those chemicals stay in our body for a lengthy period of time. In 2022, a U.S. Environmental Protection Agency The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency issued health advisories that said that the chemicals are much more hazardous to human health than scientists originally thought and are probably more dangerous even at the levels thousands of times lower than previously believed. So let me just tell you, a lot of people go, well, where are these chemicals? What are they coming from? What are we using them for? They're used in many manufacturing processes. So here's some of those. They are used to create our food packaging. So the things that are food are being stored in the grocery stores for us to purchase them are made and produced with forever chemicals. So this is put in our food packaging, non-stick coating on our pans. That's what we cook our food in. Firefighting foam, paints, cleaning products, outdoor fabrics, cookware, laptops, cell phones, water and stain resistant fabrics.
My cell phone has forever chemicals in it?
Sure does. The things we cook on, the things we're putting on our bodies. Is that not crazy? Okay. Until now, there was no federal standard on the chemicals in drinking water. Only a handful of states have passed laws that compelled water utilities to test and filter out these chemicals. The new drinking water standard will reduce PFAS exposure for about 100 million people in the United States. I'll tell you, 5 years ago, I was working really hard in states across the country that were interested in setting their own drinking water standards because we all believe that there is no way that we're going to get a federal drinking water standard. Says Dr. Anna Reed, Director of PFAS Advocacy, Environmental Health in the Environmental Group, NRDC. I think this is a huge breakthrough. The only problem is, like I said, we don't have any way to actually enforce it. So that's where the breakdown is going to come in. This standard that was put in place will actually reduce exposure from PFAS in drinking water to the lowest levels that are feasible for effective implementation, according to the administration. So that also means they're not getting rid of it fully. They don't think that they need to. They're just going to reduce it as much as they can. Let's see. It says the new maximum contaminant level goal for PFOA and PFOS, a non-enforceable health-based goal, will be 0. The 0 standard reflects the latest research that shows there's no level of exposure without risk, right? So even very, very low levels still have a risk. So that's really a huge problem. Water treatment facilities will have 3 years to test for the chemicals and 2 years to purchase, install, and operate the technologies that will filter out these chemicals. The Biden administration is also making what it calls an unprecedented $1 billion in newly available funding through this bipartisan infrastructure law. So we'll see how that all ends up working out. David Andrews, a senior scientist with the Environmental Working Group, has said just now much the federal standard will reduce overall exposure. The PFAS isn't completely clear. It's been advocating for decades for the country to clean up these chemicals. So, I mean, we still have a lot to do. They're not really sure how this is going to happen. They're not sure how this is going to be enforced. In most states, tracking violation, reporting those violations, enforcing those violations is very poor, and the vast majority of violators never face any penalties. So because of that, I'm not really sure, where we're going to go. I did want to say that there are things, it's going to take years for them to do this. This affects not just our municipal drinking water, but it also affects groundwater in many places.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And so we need to be aware of that and just know you're your own advocate. You're the only one that can protect you and your family from these things. And there are some very low cost ways that you can clean your water at home. So I did pull out on ewg.org, which we've promoted many times, Environmental Working Group. And you'll see many people look to this group and to their scientists for feedback when it comes to contamination, how these chemicals react in the body. So this is a legitimate group who provides great information. They have on here on their site some of the best water purification systems that you can get. So we do have 4 of those. Oh, I did want to mention before I go through that, I wanted to let you guys know that the PFAS, the additional, because some of these I saw listed differently, these have been linked to some of these additional adverse and alarming health effects: thyroid disease, high cholesterol, heart and cardiovascular issues, also ulcerative colitis, liver damage, liver tumors, kidney, testicular cancer, weakened immune system, irritable bowel syndrome, hormone imbalances, DNA damage, increased risk of severity of COVID-19. So these are all things that
The average 40-year-old male in America today has significantly less testosterone than a 40-year-old 100 years ago.
Hormonal imbalances are one things that come, and these are things that are building up in our system.
And infertility in women has been through the roof.
Yes.
Sperm count is lower than ever across the board.
Yep.
And then we're having more cancer than we ever did.
Yeah. I mean, everything's gone through the roof.
Cancer is an inflammatory toxicity issue. So it's toxins and inflammation come together, they form cancer. And so anyways.
So let me jump in. The 4 water filters that reduce the PFAS in the water used in our testing by 100% or came close, offering a great boost to your efforts to protect your family. So these particular water filtration either took out 100% or almost 100%. I was very excited that our water filter was top of the list. So Berkey actually does take out 100% removal of tested PFAS, which is fantastic. And also you can get a separate fluoride filter as well, which we have. The one thing I love about Berkey is that you do not have to change the filters for 2 years. So they last 2 years. That's unheard of in most filtration systems. And so that was one of the things that caused us to do that. And we have well water, but I can taste the chlorine in it.
Yep.
And so once we got that, I mean, our water tastes pristine. It tastes amazing. Another one that takes out 100% is a product called Zero Water. Another honorable mention is called Clearly Filtered. It also takes out 100%. And then Epic Water Filter took out 98% of tested PFAS.
That's pretty good too.
Yeah. So, just to let you guys know, there are some great products out there. Most of those are either pitcher or the Berkey is a countertop, which I love. So go on to ewg.org if you want to get more details about those various systems and important. Do something for your family.
I mean,
Act on this.
It's nice that the Biden administration is working on this, but you can have a bigger impact if you take precautions yourself.
And an immediate impact. That's something within 7 days you could have this in your home set up, and your family can be drinking good, clean water. You do not have to wait for our government, which we all know takes 4 times as long, maybe 10 times as long to do anything.
They're spending $1 billion, it said, right?
Yeah, you can spend
Pfizer
a couple
made
hundred.
$75 billion. You know what $1 billion is?
I don't know if I could envision
think about it. $1 million is a lot of money. Remember there was a game show back in the 80s where they had a table and they had $1 million of cash sitting on it, and they had a police officer guarding it, and then like someone was supposed to win the $1 million. And but so that's what $1 million is. Now $1 billion is 1,000 times that.
It's a lot.
So when Pfizer made a profit of $75 billion, that's 75,000 times $1 million.
It's a lot.
You think? Yeah.
I mean, if anybody wants to kind of pile that up in here, we can actually see how much it would take to fill the room.
We should let's just get some cash and see how high it goes. Get $1 billion of cash. See if it fills the room.
That'd be fun.
I bet you it fills this room.
That would be so fun.
Just $1 billion in $100 bills would probably fill this whole room. That's just $1 billion. Yeah. Anyways, moving on. I'm going to run through these articles quickly because we are completely out of time. This is Fox again, Fox News. FDA warns that nicotine-like chemicals in vapes may be more potent than nicotine. Synthetic substances are not regulated by U.S. tobacco and vaping laws that control traditional nicotine. Nicotine alternatives used in vapes being launched in the U.S. and abroad, such as 6-methyl-nicotine, may be more potent and addictive than nicotine itself, though the scientific data remains incomplete according to the U.S. FDA and independent researchers. The synthetic substances, which have a chemical structure similar to that of nicotine, are not subject to U.S. tobacco vaping regulations that are designed to control traditional nicotine, a highly addictive drug.
I do not understand the FDA.
No
I am going to
kidding.
tell you, this is so ludicrous.
I mean, but it's typical government. Oh, that's out of our jurisdiction,
yeah.
so we're
This
not going to
is
mess
so
with. Oh yeah, it's
dangerous.
killing kids. That was so many kids. I mean, I have numbers in here. You'll see. That means manufacturers can sell vapes containing synthetic nicotine analogs such as 6-methyl-nicotine in the United States without seeking authorization from the FDA, a process that can be costly, time-consuming, and is often unsuccessful. Big tobacco firms like Altria Group and British American Tobacco have already lost substantial U.S. sales to an influx of disposable vapes containing traditional nicotine that are being illegally sold without FDA authorization. Altria, the maker of Marlboro cigarettes in the United States, highlighted the emerging use of 6-methyl-nicotine in vapes and other smoking alternatives in a May 9 letter to the FDA, according to a copy of the correspondence posted on its website. So they're fighting. The tobacco companies are fighting it, saying we're safer. It's hilarious, right? It's like, hey, you go back to cigarettes.
The sad part
Stop
is,
vaping.
the sad part is they're kind of right.
Well, they're
You know, and I'm not saying
they're
cigarette
definitely
smoking
wrong.
is healthy. We all know it's
Yeah,
not.
I mean, it's like, which poison's going to kill you faster? Hey, we'll kill you a lot slower.
Right.
Go with our product. In response to Reuters' questions about 6-methyl-nicotine and other nicotine alternatives, the FDA said in a statement, although more research is needed, some emerging data show these nicotine analogs may be more potent than nicotine, which is already highly addictive, can alter adolescent brain development,
Yes.
and have long-term effects on youth's attention, learning, and memory.
People, does that not sound like
I mean, if the
some of the
FDA
spectrum
cares
disorders?
about our safety, they need to stop this.
But listen, also, if they are allowing a product through that is contributing to some of the same
Yep.
symptoms as our spectrum disorders like
That's right.
ADD, ADHD,
That's right.
autism, and now we have something that's emerging that we know affects that, like, this is how all of our reporting and stuff gets skewed. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. The traditional nicotine is extracted from tobacco leaves. The 6-methyl-nicotine is, in contrast, is made entirely in a lab using chemicals.
That makes me so nervous.
So you don't have to grow the plant or any of that stuff. It's not natural at all. Completely 100% synthetic, which means they can make as much as they want. The FDA said it was considering the use of such synthetic compounds from an agency-wide perspective and would use all of its resources to protect youth from products that may harm their health. Do it. This professor in the Department of Pharmacology and Toxicology at Virginia Commonwealth University said his research showed 6-methyl-nicotine may be more potent than nicotine, but more extensive tests were needed to say what impact it has on humans. Spree Bar promises, it's a brand, promises users 6,000 puffs from each device and offers fruity flavors, including blue raz ice and creamy melon, according to its website.
I just don't understand, if tobacco is bad and this is more potent and possibly more addictive,
Yes.
or as addictive, what's the problem, FDA? How much research do you really need?
It says the FDA has yet to approve any flavored vape using traditional nicotine for sale in the United States, saying companies have not been able to show that the health benefits they offer to smokers outweigh the known risks to young people who may be more attracted by the flavors. So they haven't approved the real nicotine one, but they're not even trying to approve or ban the synthetic one.
Maybe tobacco's not paying them off enough.
Goodness. I don't know if I want to go through this rest of this article. It's very disappointing. Another company, Aroma King, sells 6-methyl-nicotine in the United Kingdom in pouches which users insert under the lip to get a buzz. The pouches are sold in cans emblazoned with graphics of gorillas in suits and sunglasses. It said in a February blog post that its 6-methyl-nicotine products were less toxic, less harmful, and less addictive than regular nicotine products.
Hey, listen, we know how long it took for the tobacco
Right.
industry to finally admit that their product causes cancer. Um, One of a seller of Spree Bar in his vape shop in Denver, Colorado, said nobody has come in, none of his customers have had any negative feedback on the product. Well, people don't get lung cancer the day after they do something. So we are probably not going to know the effects of this for a good 10, 20, 30 years.
Just like
Like the true effects.
Just like it took 4 years for some of this data to finally be out about the COVID vaccine. Just like it took when Bextra and Vioxx were banned originally because of heart disease. They had been on the market for 5 years already, and Celebrex got banned and then put back on the market later,
Right.
saying it's not as bad as the other two, so use this one, but be careful when you prescribe it. It needs to get tested, and unfortunately, people need to die for that. Do you know whenever they put a railroad crossing sign on a road, it's because someone died at that intersection?
Wow.
They won't, because there's a lot of like roads that go over railroad tracks that have
Right.
no crossing signs
Right.
or the lights and stuff. No one's died there yet, so they only put them in places where they've died. Someone's died.
You know, I looked up metadine, which is the methyl 6, right? So it says metadine is structurally similar to nicotine. It's expected that metadine will have a toxicity profile similar to nicotine. Nicotine is considered acutely toxic. It is not mutagenic nor a carcinogen. Metadine is not listed as a carcinogen by IARC, FDA, NIOHS, or NTP. Nicotine is considered to potentially have adverse reproductive effects. Vapes that contain nicotine or metadine are not intended for pregnant or lactating women. Pure metadine is not corrosive to metal or glass, but does mildly corrode plastic. It is not a skin or eye irritant in rabbits. It is negative in the mouse bone marrow genotoxicity. Now, it does say that vape devices that contain metadine are potentially addictive. Use with caution. There's so much. Persons who are underage, under 21, should not. Metadine is not suitable. Persons who are allergic, sensitive to propylene, glycol, or glycerin, pregnant women, or breastfeeding, people should avoid using tobacco or vape if they take medication, have asthma, or depression, or have heart disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, or stomach ulcers. If you experience these symptoms, be cautious. So these are possible side effects: nausea, coughing, headache, irritation of the mouth or throat, nasal congestion, heart palpitations, vomiting, abnormal heart rate, stomach discomfort, dizziness, rash, difficulty breathing, chest pain. Sounds totally safe to me. That was sarcasm. Again, I want to just...
Thank you, FDA. Well, get this. This is on the same topic. This is from Everyday Health, this is from Health Day. FDA rescinds ban on Juul e-cigarettes. Friday, so first they banned it and then they rescind the ban. They're going to let them sell it.
They just wanted us to report that they had, and hoping that we don't say that they rescind it.
Friday, June 7, 2024, a ban on Juul e-cigarettes has been reversed in the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, announced Thursday. Why? The agency said it needs to review both new court decisions and updated data from the vape maker. What, data from the vape maker? Come on. They're going to give you data and then you're going to decide?
You might want to question it.
Juul was first banned from selling its vaping device in the U.S. market back in June 2022, but the firm's products have remained in store shelves while the company appealed the ban. The FDA's continuing delays in reviewing Juul's marketing applications are unacceptable and harmful to America's kids, as Juul remains one of the most commonly used e-cigarette brands among youth, according to the 2023 National Youth Tobacco Survey. Yolanda Richardson, president and CEO of the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids, said in a statement. It is inexplicable that Juul's applications remain pending nearly 4 years after they were first filed and nearly 2 years after the FDA initially denied them. There is no question that Juul fueled this epidemic by, they're calling it epidemic because so many kids are on it, by introducing a sleek, easy to hide product that was sold in appealing flavors, including menthol, marketed in ways that appeal to kids and delivered massive doses of nicotine that can quickly addict kids. Meanwhile, Juul Labs welcomed the reversal of the ban. Of course, they're very happy. We appreciate the FDA's decision. Oh my gosh.
FDA, come on. Can we just come
Oh
on?
yeah, they're just helping everybody, aren't they? They're
Well,
pleasing
not
people.
us. They are not helping us. And I don't mean him and I mean all of us.
That's for people, yeah. Well, because we don't pay them. Juul became one of the biggest industry success stories as millions turned to vaping, even as health experts expressed concerns that e-cigarettes were hooking a new generation on nicotine. In 2019, roughly 28% of all high school students vaped. 28% in 2019, according to data from U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That trend has only continued. Last year, the CDC reported e-cigarette use had grown nearly 50% between January 2020 and December 2022.
To high school students?
In high school students, yeah. So it was 28%. It grew by 50%, which means 14 plus 28. What is that? 30, 42? Now it's 42% of high school kids vape.
We are very open with our kids about this stuff and the health risks. Thank goodness. Especially our oldest, he is such a nervous Nelly
Yep.
when it comes to
So I always say, what are the 6 things that will destroy your life?
Yep.
And he'll list them. Smoking, drinking, drugs, pornography, gambling, and getting paralyzed. Those 6 things will destroy your life. He's got it memorized. I'll ask him anytime. I go, what are the 6 things? He'll say them. By getting paralyzed, I mean doing things that are too dangerous.
Right.
Cliff diving,
And that is not to say that somebody who has been paralyzed does not lead a full life.
No,
but they are
of
not
course
leading
not.
the life that they originally intended.
Of course not.
So you
Yeah.
can make a great life out of any situation.
Absolutely.
But those things will derail whatever plans you have
Do
in
your
life.
best to avoid it is what I'm saying. And those 6 things are things that kids need to know about. Listen, we're so worried about putting helmets on kids' heads so when they fall off their bike, they don't hurt their brain. But we don't pay enough attention to things that go in their brain.
Right.
Through their
The things
mouth,
they see.
through their ears, and through their eyes. Those are the things that destroy lives.
Yeah.
And there's too much of that right now.
100%.
We are out of time. We're way out of time. We went extra
Sorry.
long.
There was some good stuff today.
Thanks for sticking with us. Anyways, I know that it's controversial. Listen, some of our dearest, closest friends and family have had the vaccine, and whether they regret it or not, listen, there's no use regretting anything. Just make yourself healthy. Just you detoxify your body, get rid of those forever chemicals in your water. Just be healthy. Don't worry about what you did.
And take the
It doesn't
information
matter.
you learn now and make changes. You cannot fret
Yeah.
over what you didn't
No.
know before.
No, you can't change
right?
the past, and that it's done. What's done is done. And listen, and if you're someone who, under the advice of your doctor, the doctor says go and get another booster or whatever, do your research and decide if you want to do it or not. But you have a choice. You decide what's best for you. It's your body. It's your choice.
Yep. We'll see you next time.
Take care. God bless.